Good evening.
Oh, God, that was loud.
Turn me down.
Ugh. Anyways, we're back with episode 5, I'm pretty sure. Probably.
When did the first episode we ever filmed fall into the place?
What do you mean?
The one with our special guest.
We still haven't filmed it yet.
Are we scrapping all the things that we filmed?
For that one, yeah. Because
It was loud in the background.
it got really bad towards
Damn.
the end of it, which is fine.
That's espresso depresso.
Yeah, but whatever.
It's fine.
Maybe we'll actually film it one day.
Maybe.
Or
Maybe
not.
not. On
Anyways,
today's episode, we have boba.
yep, I was going to say that. We got boba.
What'd you get?
Good. I got coffee mocha.
Ooh. I got Thai tea. It's my fave. I get it every time. The funny thing is I always walk in, I look at the options as if I ever go for anything different. I don't. I think about it and then I don't. Because I'm
No.
like, it's expensive.
Coffee
and if I'm
mocha is
gonna
good,
drink it, I
so-
want to drink something I like.
If I like coffee mocha, I'm not going to risk it. Although sometimes I do risk it with like coffees and stuff like that.
I
Like
do,
yesterday when we were filming the last week's podcast or whatever, I got a brown sugar cinnamon iced latte, and that was so good that I bought another one today.
Period. As you should.
So
I used to let a certain someone make me mystery coffees, and then they f***ed up one time, and I was like, and then I realized that they don't wash their hands that much, and I'm like,
ew.
So
Why
I don't
would
do
you
that anymore.
allow them to do that?
This was before I knew how bad, before I realized how bad it was, I should say. I kind of knew that it was not great, but didn't quite realize how bad it was.
Dude, I'm gonna finish this before 20
I know,
minutes.
we're literally both more than halfway through. Well, I'm a little less
You're
than
about-
halfway through. You're
You're almost halfway. I'm like 2/3 of the way through this. Also, we got smalls though. Maybe we
Mhm.
should have gone larges.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Anyways, so not that we did it last week, but we were gonna talk about spring break. You said.
Mhm.
So
You want to start?
sure. I mean, I just went home for break for the week. Didn't really do anything special with it. Just kind of hung out with, like my family and friends a little bit. Got my hair done. I'm back to a natural hair color now. So there's that. Didn't do much. Drank a little bit because I'm of legal drinking age.
A little bit.
Shut up.
Didn't you drunk text somebody?
No. Drunk snapped them.
Drunk snapped. Either way.
Which, by the way,
That reminds me, I need
acting
to
like
snap my snaps.
acting like nothing happened. So it's
Oop.
fine. Whatever. It's fine.
It's fine.
I was thinking about that this
Everything
week.
is fine.
What about you?
Hold on one second. I'm gonna get distracted. I went home. We were originally gonna go to New Hampshire, and then we had a death in the family, so we just stayed home, and hung out. And hold on, I'm gonna get distracted. I'm so sorry. I have to snap people back. So I went home. We, like I said, stayed home. We went to my aunt and uncle's house for that Saturday because my aunt's birthday was on Thursday. My grandpa's birthday was that day. So we wanted to not like celebrate, obviously.
Did you
'cause there's-
mass snap me?
Yes, I did.
I hate you.
So we didn't want to like celebrate, but we wanted to spend time together as a family. So we got together. It was also coincidentally International Women's Day, which in our culture, I know it's not that celebrated here, but in our culture, it's like a whole big thing. Granted,
Is it really?
yeah, like you celebrate that day. Like everybody gives the women
Dude, I thought people
flowers.
just hate women.
They do,
Everyone hates women.
but for some reason they celebrate. So anywho,
Which is weird knowing your background. I feel like that culture
yeah,
wouldn't.
you would think, but here we are. Anyways, so obviously, like I said, we weren't planning on celebrating because there was just death in the family. But my mother had different thoughts. She was upset that I didn't get her flowers.
Why didn't she get
I'm
you
also
flowers?
a woman. She got me a little like Bath and Body Works set and my fave chocolate eggs, but also
That's
I-
kind of weird.
no.
I don't know.
Respectfully, no thank you. Like here's the thing about my parents is they're very stuck in their like Soviet ways, which not to say that's like a bad thing or that they can't do that or whatever.
They're so
But they're very- They're really trying to like put that onto us when it was never really like as much of a thing, I guess you could say, when we were growing up. Like, they still kind of did, but it wasn't, like, as crazy, I guess you could put it. And also, I've lived in America my whole life, so I'm not going to observe all the same things.
Parents
And they've been here.
Your parents were born there, right?
They were born there. They came here. My mom was 19 and my dad was 22.
Oh, okay.
So they've been here for most of their lives at this point, and they're both still very stuck in their ways. So, anyways, whatever. So we go over to my aunt and uncle's house, and they ordered food because nobody felt like cooking for, 10 of us, 11 of us, 12 of us, however many there was. I think there was 11. And, we sat there, we chatted, we ate food. Obviously, with it being my family, we took pictures. Now, I want to set the scene a little bit. All of us are in, jeans and a nice-ish shirt, right? My mom shows up in a dress with a pearl belt. And she also makes my dad dress up a little bit. My grandpa also dressed up, but he also turned 87. So, he has a good occasion to dress up. So, fine, whatever. We're taking our pictures, yada, yada. Also, for context, my aunt's birthday is the same day as one of their family friends' sons. So, the family friend was having a birthday party, and they were like, we're not going to come. We don't want to celebrate, yada, yada. Makes sense. Like, nobody was going to hold it against them. Well, my mom posted the pictures from that day saying Happy International Women's Day. So now those people thought that they were lying to them. They were like, so you did want to celebrate, just not with us, basically. And she was like, nobody's celebrating. And then she and I were talking about it. She was like, I didn't think I'd have to tell her, hey, don't post things. Like, we're not celebrating. We're just together. But, my mom, she has to make everything a celebration, a whole big thing, so she can post all the pictures. So that was that. And then later that night, we went back to their apartment. And my mom asked my boyfriend to take down some things and to move around some things because he's tall and she's not. And when he was doing that, she mentioned something about how my uncle is going to come over to finally take down their tree because it's, mid-March at this point, and they still had their tree until this past weekend. And I just casually say, oh, he's been coming over a lot recently, I don't know, probably at least every other month. And this lady goes off. She's going off about how she doesn't get any help around the apartment and how her kids never help her. Mind you, we both live 3+ hours away in college or near college. And that she has to do everything herself and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And if you knew my relationship with her, you'd know that I was just not entertaining. I was like, okay. I respectfully have no sympathy, if I'm being honest, because of all the things that have gone down. So, anyways, she's very hurt about it. She, goes spend. She's like, I'm very upset by what you said or whatever. And I'm like, okay, right, whatever. You're literally making this up for your own self. Because she was also like, you said every month. And I was like, I said every other month. Don't put words in my mouth. And I wasn't saying it like it was a bad thing. I was just pointing out, oh, hey, he's been over more often. And also, not that I help her when I go home because that's not my job. And she is never grateful for anything I do for her. But also, like I said, live 3+ hours away. I'm not going to come over and change your light bulb.
Yeah, no, that's stupid.
Yeah. And then the next morning, I'm sitting at the table doing homework. She walks out and she says something along the lines of, oh, did you have anything to say? Clearly expecting an apology. Obviously, again, I'm not entertaining that.
Dude,
so
I hate when people do that when they're like, I know it's your mom, so obviously she's gonna, but I hate when there's people who expect an apology and are kind of just trying to force you or kind of nudge you to doing it or to saying something, not necessarily an apology, but anything like that. Stop.
Right.
Because if I wanted to apologize, if I felt the need to apologize, I would do it.
Right. So that whole situation was, and then we went over to my grandma's that day because that was the day that we were leaving and obviously wanted to just, say goodbye before I left. And my mom was like, you need to get her flowers. And I'm like, no, I literally don't. She definitely has flowers, at least from grandpa. She doesn't need 15,000 different bouquets. And again, we're not going over to celebrate. We're going over to have lunch and for my grandma to give us all the food in her kitchen because this lady doesn't know how to keep food to herself. So
I can attest to that one.
Huh?
I can attest to that.
Yeah. She came over one time sophomore year to my grandma's and my grandma stuffed everybody full of food. she specifically made something with fish. Granted, she was probably gonna make something with fish anyways, so that she could eat it.
But even so, like, afterwards, wasn't she trying to, like, get us to
Yes.
bring a bunch of food back?
She was like, you should bring some apples for the road. You should do yada yada. And then that was the funny part is my grandpa told the guy that we took with us that we should take apples, and he refused because we were all refusing to take everything. And my grandpa looks at him and he like slides his thumb across his neck, like in a not in like a threatening way, like obviously he's not actually gonna do it, but like in a funny haha way.
Yeah,
And
but you're part of the Russian mob, so
yeah, okay, all right. Anyways, back to the story. So I said no, I'm not getting, or I didn't even reply to her because again I'm not entertaining her, but we go to my grandma's. Mind you, I thought that it was also going to be just my boyfriend and I and my grandparents because, again, nothing grand or special. My mom puts on another nice outfit. It wasn't a dress this time, but it was still a nice outfit. And we go over, and she makes my grandma put everything on the dining room table, like the nice one, not like the regular one, and have like a whole thing about it. Like, she clearly told my grandma this was going to be like another celebration when, like I said, I was expecting just lunch and nothing fancy. So, and again, more pictures and all, but I'm literally like, again, I wasn't expecting anything nice, so I was literally in leggings and a t-shirt. So I was like, okay, I mean, you're obnoxious.
I'm trying to get the last.
So I'm just sitting there like, all right, whatever.
I'm trying to get the last people. I gotta keep things entertaining.
Anywho, so then we come back home. I do my partnership night, and then I go to work, and then I go to work again, and then I do another partnership night, and then we go check out another apartment, and then we come back to Massachusetts because then we're gonna fly down to Pennsylvania because one of my besties was getting engaged, and obviously her now fiance knew that we're like sisters, so he's like, y'all should come on down if you can.
Bro, imagine if you you're invited to go down from the boyfriend, and then she says no, and then you're like just standing there.
I know we
like,
were thinking about that, but I was like, realistically, she's been waiting for him to propose for how long?
Yeah, but like, what if that's the case where she was like thinking that or whatever, and then like when you're actually in the moment, you go, I'm not ready for this. You know what I mean? I've been in plenty of those situations, not like proposal kind of situations, but I've been in plenty of situations where I'm like, oh yeah, I could so do this, blah, 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 blah. And then when I actually stood up to it, I'm like, maybe not. Maybe I just wait another 5-10 years before I actually even think about it again. That'd be funny.
I can see that happening,
What
but
if-
not with her. She, like I said, has been waiting for him to propose since October,
Okay.
and she was like very stressed that he hadn't proposed yet.
Interesting.
Mind you, they've been dating for about 2 months longer than me and my boyfriend.
Yeah.
So it's as if I was expecting him to propose in December.
What
And I was like, I mean, you do you.
have you and your man talked about it? Not like we haven't said his name already on this podcast multiple times, but
Yeah, probably. No, we've definitely talked about it, but we're not. That was English. We're not in any rush.
no, I get that. But like, because I mean, you've only been together for like 2 years or just under
Almost.
2 years.
Mhm.
Getting there, just when it feels right, it feels right. Is that like what
Probably.
you're gonna,
I told him I want a promise ring.
and yet here you
And
are.
yeah, here we are.
Like I said, I'll get you a promise ring.
Don't flirt with me like that.
Stop. You were flirting with me last night too. Were you or was I? I don't remember. One of
We're
us was
both flirting.
Dude, we're always flirting with each other.
Very
It's
much so.
horrible.
Anywho, back to the story. Flew down to Pennsylvania. She got engaged. Spent some time with them and with their friends, and then came back to Pennsylvania. Came back to Massachusetts. My grandpa was the one that dropped us off at the airport. My mom was the one that picked us up. We ended up being delayed for about an hour and a half. But what I told my family that when we come back on Sunday, we can spend like, a couple hours with everybody before we go back up to Maine, because we were going to fly in at 9 in the morning. And I was like, well, we don't need to be back at noon, so we can be there for a little bit. My mom picked us up, and as we were driving, she gets a phone call from one of her friends.
I'd just like to let you know that I finished my boba.
Congratulations. Saying that they're going to the St. Patty's Day parade, which I was fine with. It was in Boston, by the way. I was fine with that.
My brother went. Do you think they saw each other?
Oh God, I hope not. But after that, I was told that she complained that I didn't spend any time with her, and I was like, it's not my fault the flight was delayed, and you're the one that went to the parade. Like, it was fully on you, and I wasn't going to stay all day. She was like, because she was also told that she could have came with me to my grandparents or wherever, and she was like, well, they weren't going to stay long anyways. No, we weren't going to stay long, but we were going to stay for a few hours. So if you really wanted to hang out, you could have. That was fully on her, and once again, she's pinning it all on me, and I'm just so done with it. That's just the moral of the story is I'm so done with it. But anywho, that was my spring break. Now we're back in school, miserable. So, yeah.
Fun.
Very.
Yeah, so now we're back in school. It's only
Tuesday.
the second day of being back from spring break that we're filming this, but I don't know. I feel good. Like, I want to graduate. I'm ready to graduate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I'm feeling good about, like, this, like,
I feel
we're in the home stretch to be graduate, like, to graduate. Which, granted, my capstone project is going to start ramping up now this weekend. So I'm going to be a little stressed about that. The next couple of weekends we're going to be stressed is when we're filming them. But I don't know, I feel good about it. How do you feel about your this is it?
Well, I still hate my transition class. For context, it's basically all exams and quizzes, and those are only grades pretty much. There's not really, like, homework other than the exams and quizzes, which is annoying because it looks like we're all
It's
failing.
literally just a class that you just take a quiz.
Quizzes and exams. Yeah, pretty much.
That's stupid.
My point exactly.
That's so stupid.
Yep.
Like,
Don't look at me.
transition from college to, like, real life, like, type of stuff? Like, is that what it is?
It's on all the things we've learned thus far in nursing school.
Which is it's been 4 years. Like, what do you...
Exactly.
What?
And you want to know the best part? You would think that we'd at least review these things all together before we take the quizzes.
Make sure... I think they're just trying to make sure you retain information.
Yeah,
do they
which-
tell you at least, like, what the next quiz or exam is
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
on?
You know,
okay.
like, it's pharmacology or it's maternal newborn or whatever it is.
Okay, so they at least are, like, giving you, like, a quick heads up. In case if you want to study, which I know you probably don't.
But there's also, like, no surefire way to study because you basically have to study
The entire
everything you ever learned
section.
and then some, because there's definitely also been things that we either didn't learn, period, or it's, like, very oddly specific that, like, maybe you did learn a little bit about it, but not
Dude,
enough
I
to
would
retain.
suffer immensely because once I'm done with the class, I delete my notes for it.
That, and also, if I haven't heard anything about it since the beginning of sophomore year, what are the chances I'm going to remember
Freshman year, like...
that I'm going to remember it at the end of senior year? Like, don't get me wrong, there's obviously stuff that, like, you use in everyday practice.
That's
that
important, yeah.
is
like,
important that you are going to know.
some anatomy
But
stuff,
then,
I'm sure, but, like, learning,
like, all
like,
these weirdly specific medications.
like, biological stuff, like, why do you need to know
I
that?
remember for the pharmacology one, there was this one question. I actually looked at what they wanted us to study for the pharmacology one. I granted didn't study a super ton of it, but I did study a little bit. I remember there was this one question about anti-nausea medication, and it was like, this is the suffix for these medications. So I was like, okay, that one I've seen about 1,001 times. I'm gonna remember that one. What was on the exam, you ask? Some oddly specific name for some oddly specific anti-nausea med. So I didn't even know that it was an anti-nausea med. And I was like, I don't know what that does. And then I got it wrong, I'm sure. And I read the justification. I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Dude, no, because there's, like, some things, too, where, like, one of the professors that I have, like, whenever we take a quiz, like, they make notes, right? They make notes.
That'd be nice.
So, like, it's a slideshow presentation on the notes for the chapter. And then when we review, she basically just goes over the slideshow again. But there's also a textbook to it. And the way that how this class is quizzes are being done is open note, but not open book. But there are so many questions. There's, like, the last quiz we took, which was literally yesterday. We took a 9 a.m. quiz the day we get back from
spring break. That's
yep.
stupid.
Absolutely. So there was at least like 7 questions that I didn't know, and I was looking up because I didn't know what it was, but it's because it was in the book. But if it's not open book and it's just open note, how the hell are you supposed to expect us to remember that from reading the book? Hypothetically, if you read the book. Because those chapters are kind of long, and I already have enough issues with comprehension as it is.
Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of boba.
Like 25 page, 30 page chapters, and you want us to read it all and remember things that aren't in the notes that you gave us. Just give them into the notes if you're going to ask them on.
Literally, that's so stupid.
Like, I'm not reading that textbook. If you're giving me notes on 70% of the chapter, just give me 100% of the chapter. Because why the hell do I have to, especially since we don't have access to the book during the quizzes?
I just never understood the point of never going over something in actual class. So, like, even if you have questions, like, it's not like you're going to ask them because you never get to it in class. And then being quizzed on it. I never understood that.
I just don't get it. Like, if it's that important, why
Talk
aren't
about
they
it.
in the notes? Like, why aren't they in the
Literally.
presentation?
But anyways, my other last, like, final nursing class, my senior practicum partnership, whatever you want to call it, which is where I go to the hospital for 220 hours total over the course of the semester. That class is going pretty well because it's mostly just
This is
the
your
partnership.
capstone?
This is not the capstone. Capstone is the
Oh.
partnership. I'm 10 shifts in. I have my 11th one tonight.
Yeah. I thought this was your capstone.
This is
The overnight
technically
one?
2 separate classes. It is both technically your capstone, but it's technically 2 separate classes. Originally, you're supposed to do 18-ish shifts. I'm most likely going to be doing about 17 because as much as I love my preceptor, he stays about 10 and a half years for report. But I'm fine with that because it's one less shift that I have to go to and schedule. I'm hoping I'll be done by like mid-April-ish. So I have some time to not be stressed all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing too with because even my capstone, granted, I'm like a little more doing just going to a partnership because like we're filming a short film, right? So and I'm the producer on it, so like I have to be involved with like everything. Basically, I'm in charge of making sure cast and crew are good, locations are set, etc., etc. Which hypothetically we're supposed to be done filming the weekend of April 5th, so after the first weekend of April.
Mm-hmm.
We should be hopefully done with all of filming, which then it's just editing, just making sure that the guy who's editing is like doing his work and that the audio is being worked on and the this and the that and seeing the drafts of, the edits and whatever. So like most of my job is done by the first week of April, which is good. But I know I'm probably going to be sitting in anyways during editing sessions and just making sure that everything's running smoothly and that any input I can put in is there. Not that I'm like super well at film stuff, especially during production. I'm very a pre-production person, and post-production I'm definitely not a good person for. But no, that'll be. So like most of my stress probably is done by mid-April, if I had to guess. But yeah, so
Nice.
it's weird because you'd think like, oh, it's your capstone. You're going through like the full semester, making sure you know what you're doing because this is it. This is like the class to graduate. But the fact that I'll have like maybe a month and a half of not downtime, but less stress is great.
One of the things that kind of take me off is for our partnership, they want you to do it like throughout the entire semester, which don't get me wrong. Like I get that then you'll be closer to actually working when you're done with your partnership and whatever. But also, that's when all of your exams are. Like,
Yeah.
I personally definitely work less and all that fun stuff around this time so that I have more time to A, decompress, B, to maybe study.
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I kind of get it. Like, you don't want to do all of them, like, working full time, basically, and get it done in the first 6 weeks. But I feel like being done, like, late March, early April should be fine.
If
So I'm
for
going to do
your-
mine mid-April, and we're going to call it good. I probably
For
could've
your
done sooner.
capstone or partnership or whatever
Partnership.
you want to call it, same thing.
Mhm.
I know that you're going to go one less, but if they said go for the 18th one for like extra credit
I would say no. Oh, for extra credit maybe.
or just to get the experience even. Like I feel
No,
like
I got my hours. I'm good.
well, okay then. But like, you know what I mean? Like maybe. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what like a hospital cuz it's in a hospital, right?
Mhm.
I'm very curious to see what a hospital looks like overnight.
It's very eerie. Like, the lights are off except for the actual nurses station.
Well, yeah, cuz they are trying to save power
Right.
and whatnot.
Well, that, and also people are trying to sleep.
That too.
Um,
I love how I went environmental before actual people.
mhm.
Shows you the kind of person I am. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
They obviously are sleeping most of the time, so we don't really get them up much, like out of bed much. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Depends on the patient. But especially if they don't really get out of bed much throughout the day, they're definitely not getting up throughout the night. Not as many resources throughout the night. There's a lot of like unless something crazy is happening, there's quite a bit of downtime.
I was going to say it's probably more, I'm not going to say the word, but the Q word essentially, just
Mhm.
because it's overnight, people are sleeping and whatever.
Mhm. And then sometimes your patients try to croak on you, and there's basically one person in the entire hospital that can do an ultrasound guided IV, because those are not that common unless, whatever. So, it has its ups, it has its downs.
What's the craziest thing or like the coolest thing that you've had to do for your partnership? Like, you learned how to do an IV, right?
I went to the class to learn how to do an IV. I haven't actually placed an IV, but I also do phlebotomy at work. So I've basically done
Phlebotomy?
draw blood. That's called phlebotomy. So I, in theory, could do one. I just haven't gotten the chance to yet. But for the most part, there hasn't been a super ton of crazy stuff going on. Like, I've done some dressing changes. I've done some catheter care. I think the craziest one was this past shift was when my patient tried to croak on me, and we had to, do all the things to make him not croak. But even then, it was mostly like the nurse doing stuff. I was just kind of there watching. So
Interesting.
yeah.
I don't know. But like, you haven't done anything like super crazy. Like, you haven't done a tracheotomy.
Yeah, no. I don't think they let the nurse do that. Granted, I guess in an
Probably
emergency situation.
not, but in like an emergency situation they have to. But maybe probably not somebody who's just
No, definitely not a nursing student.
A
I think they would get sued for that. We did also see a code gray. Granted, not like
which
with
is
our own eyes, but hearing about it. That's when a patient is verbally or physically abusive.
yeah. I was trying to remember that because I know what blue and black and pink are. I think.
They also
or is it
sometimes vary
orange?
hospital to hospital. So
What is there an orange? There's a code orange, right?
Probably is. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Red.
I don't know, man.
Code
I know
red.
for sure code blue is the same everywhere.
Blue,
Other than that,
I think is the
things can
same.
change.
Black.
I'm
thinking.
I know you're thinking Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, which
but
I know isn't totally accurate, but I feel like they try to at least get as close to like medically
they do,
as they can.
but when it changes hospital to hospital, it's not always accurate for everybody. So I'm sure it is accurate for some hospital, but I don't know if it's accurate for mine. But that's when for us the code gray is when there's a physically or verbally abusive patient, and it was really interesting because we were literally just sitting there at the nurses station charting our thing. All of a sudden we hear on the loudspeaker our floor code gray, and I'm sitting there like, code gray, what's that? And I look over my preceptor who's sitting right behind me, and he like logs off his computer and starts walking. I was like, okay, I guess we're walking there. And then they kind of like walked me through what they do for that situation. But it was interesting. It was one of the more eventful things that has happened overnight. See, here's the thing about night shift that's like, I'm trying to think of like pros and cons for if I want to do night shift or not. Like, obviously, I'm very much a night person, so it's better for me in that sense because I'm definitely not.
Yeah, but then you leaving in the morning, you'd be miserable.
I mean, I'm more or less okay now, so I feel like it'll be.
You'd
fine.
have to have coffee, right? You have coffee.
Oh yeah, I
every
bring
time.
coffee every time. You think I'd stay alive at anywhere without coffee? Well, I am also trying to go to sleep after this because I have my night shift tonight.
That's true.
But Um, I am very much not the type of person that, like, if I had to go in at 7 a.m., I'd be, like, wide awake, ready to go. I actually am pretty okay when I go in for my night shifts like that, though. And then, you know, still drinking my coffee, still suffering, at least in the morning, a little bit. Maybe wake up a little bit more by the afternoon. But again, at that point, most of the day's gone anyways. And you also waste all your daylight. Because sometimes the sun goes up after you're at work and then comes down before you're out of work. Like how I do my shifts at work. A lot of times I don't see the sun unless I look out the window. So at least for that part of it, like, I got off night shift, I take my nap. I wake up at like 2, 3 o'clock. I still have a couple hours of sunlight. That being said, during day shifts, there's actually things going on. Maybe I can place an IV or two or whatever. Some procedures happen, whatnot, that maybe I could, you know, witness or whatever. Whereas during night shift, unless it's something emergent, chances are there's not much going on. So there's pros, there's cons. Depends on what you like. Obviously, you also get paid more for doing night shift. When I was talking to the hospitals in Maine, they pay a $7 differential for nights. And then on top of that, a $2 differential for weekends. So if I'm working
for weekends.
Yeah. So if I'm working a weekend night shift, instead of getting 34, for example, I'd be getting
Plus
43.
9. Damn.
Which is a pretty significant.
That's so weird
increase.
that weekends is like a differential.
Why would it be weird? People don't want to work weekends. I'm surprised they don't do more than that.
I get, but they have to quote unquote put more people on, because you would think that more people would come in on the weekends, like people for sickness or injury or whatever. Weekends are
for like an urgent care guest for a hospital. I mean, whoever's admitted is already admitted. It doesn't really change much, I guess.
I don't know. I feel like that would be, you know, it would make more sense that, I don't know. Maybe I just think generally, like, people working on the weekend, or like people are more out and about on the weekends, because most people work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday.
So in order to get people to work weekends, they give them more money. Otherwise, nobody would be working weekends. And like I said, I'm surprised that not more people, they're not paying more for weekends, because $2, like, yeah, it's more money, but it's not like a significant amount of money.
It adds
like
up,
$7 is. It does add up.
It will add up
in
like 3 months. Like, it'll
it does, because if you work weekends, that's
especially if
an
you're
extra
working
$24.
a 12, 14, 16-hour shift or whatever. What's the legal?
Usually you're scheduled for 12. I think legal is 16.
Yeah, so if you work 16 hours on a Saturday, that's say for example, $15 an hour plus the 2.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's $17 an hour times 16.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that math in my head right now.
So
you're do 15 times 16 just for the groundwork,
which is 240, and then 15
times 17.
Or no, 16 times 17, 272. So it's an extra
240 to 272. So $32.
Yeah, which is not bad.
Which, that's for one weekend.
Right. One weekend
times
shift, not
4
even one weekend.
Times for 4. A month. Times, 12 for 3 months. Times.
Yeah. So again, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's nothing
for a whole year.
Right. And don't get me wrong. It's not like it's nothing. I just feel like it's easier to get people to come in on nights than weekends. At least for me personally.
Just because of when you think about it week to week, it's more.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Which I get.
But either way, it's more money, and that's what matters.
Dude, I can't believe. And that'd be crazy if you added up nights and weekends.
Right. Because
hell,
again,
I'll even
pay.
I'll even drop law school to work as a nurse. Not that I can, but
average starting pay for a new grad at the hospital that I was talking to you about, it's $34. So $43 for a weekend night shift. And let's say just your average 12-hour shift, $516 for one shift.
Yeah, that's
as
crazy.
opposed to $408. So that's an extra over $100.
Yeah.
Before tax, granted, but
I've talked about it a couple times before of like my thing is like, I'm graduating with a film degree, right? But I'm going to law as well because I'm getting a pre-law certificate and I find that interesting. So looking at, my my stuff is like right now my capstone is, like I said, is that we're making a short film, which is all fun because I honestly I like film and I don't, I'm not that against it. I just think that I feel like the legal aspect of things are cooler. Um Planning on going to law school and seeing about maybe being like a media lawyer, so like film or music or anything like that, where it has to do with like, you know, media industry stuff, communications of some sort, just to do like some copyright stuff. That sounds kind of cool. I'm not really like a big paperwork person. However, if the job wants me to do it, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to explore the avenue of like media law. I had thought about doing like criminal prosecution at some point because I like true crime stuff and I find that also to be very interesting. However, actually getting into the nitty gritty of like going through evidence and actually like charging people with crimes and stuff like that is starting to dwindle my interest into it. I like watching true crime. I don't like dealing with true crime. But, it's whatever. We have so much firewood in here. It's weird. It really is weird. But yeah, I don't know. Just, finding. Granted, when I go to law school, I could end up taking a class on like environmental law or I don't know, something else that's different than what I'm thinking of going into. So it would definitely be interesting to, like I said, explore avenues of law because there's so much law. There's law everywhere. Anything you can think of, there's law for that. Environmental, entertainment law, which is media law. You got your criminal stuff, you got your civil litigation stuff, you've got like all different types of avenues. And it's just crazy to think, like, hell, I could even work with Jess, because we've joked about it a couple times, about doing, like, medical malpractice. Like, which, like, sounds kind of interesting to me, and, I mean, I don't know, I never took anatomy growing, like in high school or in college, so I probably would have to learn some of that stuff a little bit at least, but it would be interesting to me. Don't tell Jess I said that. But, I mean, medical malpractice doesn't sound like the worst. Plus, it's like, not that money is everything to me, but some of those things, like, the law is expensive to get into, but it's also, you get a lot of money out of it. But anyways, so, yeah, I mean, in case if anyone was curious on my thoughts on law, I like law. I genuinely do. And those are my thoughts for now, is that I'm going to do like entertainment law or media law or whatever you want to call it. Film stuff, whatever. But I think, or sports law, like I said, there's law for everything. There's law, like lawyers for being on a college campus, for example, in case if anything happens like that. You've got like, any like celebrities or important people who need a PR team, need lawyers on those PR teams. Like there's just a lot of law everywhere. So really, you'd think that like, there'd be lawyers everywhere, but apparently there is a lack of lawyers, especially in like the criminal aspect around the country, but especially in this state. Dude, I'm struggling to talk. You're gonna have to listen to this when I'm editing it.
I'm back.
Oh, thank God.
She's been struggling. You know how occasionally does drinks of the week from the barista or whatever? Guess whose drink it is this week?
Don't tell me. What is it?
I didn't look. I'm not gonna lie. I just saw that who it was.
Ugh. When did it a few weeks back, it actually was pretty good. I tried it. But yeah, so anyways, I talked about how I definitely don't want to do medical malpractice. No, I'm just kidding. I was talking about how like it sounds interesting to me. I just feel like I should, at least for like any type of law, you should at least kind of know some bit of a back. At least that's what I think, is that you should have some background of the what. She's busy talking to herself. But any type of law, you should have some type of background with like, you know, what it is. Like I said, that I'm in film, so I might be doing like an entertainment law. So like I'll actually have like, you know, perspective on the industry itself rather than just going in it blindly. But even if I wanted to do like medical malpractice, for example, I feel like I should know some like anatomy stuff or some medical stuff at least.
Wouldn't hurt.
Which I'm sure that like when I take medical malpractice classes, if I choose to, they would tell you like some stuff that you need to know to understand it better. Environmental law, the same thing. Criminal, obviously, like there's plenty of classes for criminal, because it's such a big, huge, like part of law and a part of like society. I mean, law and order is a massive, just like in general thing. Anything to do with it, like, you know, being a police officer or forensic stuff or whatever, investigation, stuff like that. Like, you should just know like general knowledge about like evidence or whatever to help you better understand as a lawyer, like the type of law you're going into, you know? Are you trying to catch up to me?
I'm only half paying attention, if I'm being honest. I'm trying to get my boba.
I'm just talking about how you should understand the type of law that you're in.
I agree.
Like in medical malpractice, I'm sure they would go over, you know, important things medically that you should know or you should understand to better help your client. Versus like if I went into medical malpractice without taking the class and just was like, yeah, his elbow looks broken. Well, was it a fracture? Was it a clean break? Was it just a bruising? Like, you don't know. For example, I don't know anything medical. Anyways, we were talking about your stuff, but so what were your thoughts on like, I don't know. Would you, because I know like it is like the extra like $7 or $9 or whatever dollars, would you do weekend nights or stuff like that?
Absolutely.
For the extra money? Like I said, it would add up very
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Because
you can start paying for my boba.
No.
Why not?
Be an extra $108 a shift.
Yeah. $100 per shift.
Just for going in on a weekend night.
Yep.
And that's at minimum.
And then once you get more experience, you'll get a raise.
I'm going to make more than that from the get-go because I have 4 years of patient care experience and a second language.
Yeah. And like I said, even then, like you'll get,
right.
Once you're like 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, you're going to get raises.
Yep. I will not be working bedside that long.
No, but like that'd be crazy. Like with the more experience and the other circumstances and blah, 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 blah. You would end up getting easily like $250 extra from what you would normally at a starting wage. Which is insane.
So, one of the hospitals in our area is the one that I was going to apply to because it was going to be the one that I'm going to live the closest to, so I figured it makes sense. They came to our career fair, and when I was chatting with them, they themselves brought up the pay, which, granted, it was going to be lower than the hospital that's currently the closest to us, but I need a job either way, so I was like, that's fine, because I'm still going to get more money because of my patient care experience and my second language. Well, I brought up, I was like, do you guys negotiate for, like, if somebody already works in healthcare and if somebody has a second language? And they were like, well, it's not that we don't negotiate. It's that we try to keep it as equal as we can for the new grads, especially for the ones that don't really know how to negotiate yet. And obviously I didn't say this out loud, but I was like, that's not my problem, because I'll be negotiating my pay. Which it'd be one thing if I don't have anything to negotiate, but like I said, 4 years patient care experience, second language. I have plenty to bring to the table that not everybody does. And then I chatted with them yesterday over the phone, which respectfully, that phone call could have been email, because it was basically going over how their program works. And then she asked me like a couple quick questions, but then never elaborated or went into depth about anything. So I was like, I didn't understand the point of it, but either way. And then we set up an interview, and she offered a day next week. I thought that maybe that day is just the day that works best for them, so I said I can't do next week, but I can do the week after. And she said by then all the slots might be full. And I was like,
which is weird because
right. This won't even start until June, July, August.
Okay, but like even so, like she's saying slots like actual like positions at the hospital, or is she saying like
for this program that is for new grads?
Yeah.
And I was kind of
like,
just like,
I
get it, don't get me wrong, but also not everybody has even started applying yet. And you're telling me that a week is going to make that big of a difference? I also, part of me thinks that means that I have to like make my decision super fast, and I will not be making my decision super fast. Like I want to deep dive. I want to figure out if there's better opportunities out there for me, yada yada. So I have been getting the ick from them. I'm still going to go and interview with them in case like it was just a miscommunication thing or whatever, but
it's just
something about it.
It's just really weird because like I don't like, yeah, I know like it's for new grads or whatever, and I get that, and like there's however many people graduate from nursing school every year, especially in this state, because this is a pretty large state compared to my state.
It's bigger than yours, but it's not that large.
Well, everything's bigger than my state, but like it just is like there's so many of them, so many people graduate, right? So like obviously like people are going to be pushing for trying to find, you know, a job after they graduate. But even so, like if you're not moving there until July or whatever, people might leave knowing that there's going to be like a good percentage of recent nursing grad students are going to last maybe a month out of graduation and then be like, no, and go find another job somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Or work at McDonald's or something like that. I don't know. But like, bold, maybe it is just miscommunication like you said, but bold to like assume that, you know, all the positions are going to be filled. And even so, when people get more experience, then they'll move out of the program or whatever. At least I feel. I don't have any experience with this, so.
Here's the thing. Once you're in the program, I feel like you'll at least stay in the program for the duration of the program.
How long is the program?
It's 10 months, I think she said.
Yeah, but like I said, some people probably would be like, because if it's at a hospital and they're like, oh yeah, I want to work at a hospital, and then they go like a month or two and they're like,
I don't like
not
this
for me,
hospital.
then a spot opens up because they leave.
Yeah. I just, again, either way, even if that doesn't happen, I was just like, A, the fact that one singular week is going to make that big a difference, and B, it's the way that I literally said that I'm free the entire rest of the week, and then she like didn't acknowledge that until I restated it. I was kind of like, something about it, like I'm really not.
Maybe she misheard you. There. I don't know. Like I'm trying to give
again,
like the benefit of the doubt.
It very much could be miscommunication.
Because there are some people who are proactive in trying to find a job,
right?
But there's also like you were saying, some people that haven't even thought about it yet. Because we're still like 8 weeks out of graduation,
something like that.
And like some colleges will be less than that. Some colleges might be more than that. So like between like
we're a week further than we used to be.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like 6 to 10 weeks until everyone's graduating, and maybe some people might not necessarily want to jump right into having a job. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But some people might want to travel or just take some time off because college is crazy. And I'm sure you can.
Did you see that? I went to go drink my microphone and not my straw.
Girl. Some people might, want to take a break because college is insane. And I'm sure you have the thought of nursing school alone, because film school is different than nursing school. So I can't really attest to nursing school, but I can imagine it's chaotic as it is. So, like, are you even paying attention?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, girl, stop, please. Please, this is horrible. But, like, some people might be like, oh, yeah, let's take, like, a month off and go travel to, like,
Here's the thing.
Rome.
I think what you're thinking is that this is, like, just any other job, which I could just get any other job without this program. But this program is, like, meant to
It's
integrate
meant to
you
get
better.
them into,
Yeah.
Which I get. And, like I said, I don't have experience with this. I'm not a nursing student. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But, like, even so, I feel like there's gotta be at least a few, like, graduating nursing students that don't want to jump right into it. At least I feel like there's just some students in general that just don't want to jump right into their job.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you might have to, and that's fine. But some people might want to travel before they're stuck in a hospital for 15 years just working relentlessly. That's at least my 2 cents of the 5% of nursing that I understand. But what do I know? Okay, I think you finished it. Okay, I think you're done. Whatever.
Yeah. But we'll see. And that's why I'm going to the thing today, because this is like a meet and greet type of thing.
Marketing thing.
Yeah. So maybe I'll find some other place.
Or
in the same area.
networking, not marketing.
Yeah, networking. Maybe I'll find some other place in the area that I'll like better.
In
or
this
maybe
area?
No. In the area that I'm going to.
I was going to say.
Or maybe the lady that I talked to yesterday will be there, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, LOL. Miscommunication. It's all fine and dandy.
Well, oops.
Yeah. I'm also preparing what I'm going to have to say if they do say we're just offering the base new grad pay and that's it.
Yeah. Maybe you'll find something better. But I feel like if it's like a career fair-esque type of thing, but it's just more focused on medical stuff, that I feel like it's not going to be really any different. It's just going to be just medical stuff. Like hospitals or... Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like it's just going to be like another career fair, but just
pretty much
focused on healthcare.
Yeah. And they said that we don't have to bring resumes. This is literally like a network.
Just a meet and greet. Yeah.
So, but they also said that they are looking to hire people. So,
are you bringing a resume then?
I'm not bringing a resume. I do have it on my phone if need be. But I also...
Here, you want to look at my phone?
I also am my resume. I can just be like, let me tell you all the things I've ever done.
Annoy me.
Yes.
Number 1.
Correct.
Through 12.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. You'll have to let me know how it goes.
Yeah. I kind of don't want to go, but I should.
You probably should, because
Yeah,
it is time.
Yeah.
Why are you like this?
Because I met you.
That is a lie. I'm not the reason that you're like this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What is then?
You.
Okay.
You met you.
Mm.
That made no sense.
Mm-hmm. I almost ripped these pants earlier, by the way. I was like trying to pull them up and then ripped the pocket part a little bit. It didn't fully rip,
Well,
so I still
is
wore
it
them,
one
but-
that actually is a pocket?
You know,
Or is it one of those like pockets that is a pocket, but it's sewn up, so you can't actually use it as a pocket?
it was sewn up,
You
but
just cut
then
it
the more
open?
I use
Oh.
it, the more the hole got bigger. So
I thought
now
you
they're
just
like
cut it
full
open.
pockets. I don't know,
The
maybe
front pockets?
Yeah.
Usually it's back pockets that are sewn up. That's
I
crazy.
don't think these ones have.
These probably
no,
don't.
There's not. Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll leave the episode here so you can
Yeah.
go do your networking stuff.
I don't want to.
Do you want me to go with you?
No,
I think it'd be really funny if I
Maybe.
showed up.
it would be funny.
Really?
It would be funny. You just wouldn't have anything to do there.
I'd just be like, yeah, I'm here for legal or film stuff.
And
Anyway.
they're gonna be like, "This is healthcare."
And I'd be like, man, this is a Wendy's.
This is a Wendy's.
But yeah.
No, this is Patrick.
Okay. No, this is Patrick. I'm not a Krusty Krab.
Oh, that's not what I needed.
All right. Okay, so we're going to leave this episode here.
No.
Okay. So we're just going to
It
stay
has
here in
nursing,
silence for
exercise science, PT, OT, pre-med, pharmacy, education. Maybe we'll go there. Mental. Oh, she knows she's at school.
school.
Mental
right
health,
now.
biology, and biochemistry. So you got nothing to do there.
But I could network because they always tell us that even if, you know, it's not like a communications thing, that you could still possibly, girl,
I
be
mean,
for
if you
real.
want to, come on down. But
Imagine I walk down with you and then I'm like, okay, I'm bored by.
So I can leave after.
Imagine I go down and I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Do you guys need any legal
Looking for some videos?
Legal or video
malpractice
stuff?
lawyers?
Imagine.
That'd be
It'd
funny.
Crazy. Anyone looking for a podcast? Medical podcast? That'd be cool.
Iconic.
I'm sure there's a medical podcast
There
somewhere out
definitely
there. That's how I'm going to learn how to do
John,
medical.
haven't I?
Yes.
You know, I'm going to see him in April too.
You already saw him.
I know, but he was iconic. So now I'm bringing Riley.
Ugh. Ugh.
Anyways, he has a podcast, and it's hilarious.
Does he actually talk about medical stuff, or is he
Yes.
just kind of shooting?
A lot of it is like nursing horror stories.
Okay, now maybe I need to hear this. I feel like any like medical horror story, like I like true crime, but for some reason like medical horror stories are like funny, like iconic for me.
Like
Because I'm like, that's never gonna happen to
the
me.
children running down the hall in an all-adult floor at 2 a.m.
Children running down the
Not
hall?
actually. Like that's ghosts or whatever.
Oh.
Those are the kind of stories.
Oh, that's boring.
What?
I don't want to listen to a ghost story. I want to hear like actual things that went wrong
Like what?
in the hospital. I don't know. You IV'd somebody and then they're allergic to the IV. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure that's happened.
Whatever. All right. Anyways, we're wrapping up this video now. Damn it, I do this every time. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Good night.
Oh, what? Dude, it's 2:00.
Shh.
Bye.
Good night.